Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to the College Info Geek podcast, quarantine edition. And this time, I was about to say this time I'm underwater, but nobody can actually see my virtual Zoom background because I'm filming this.
Oh yeah, that's true.
on the other camera. I thought about putting the green screen behind me and then compositing this background in the actual video, and I may do that in like May or something, but I figured you would yell at me for overcomplicating the setup even more.
It would be overcomplicated.
So I didn't do that.
I moved everything in my living room to do this. My desk is in the middle of the floor right now, as are most things, because the lighting only comes from a tiny corner.
Just need to get you an office that is always set up, so you don't have to.
I don't have
redo your entire.
Also, the room I was using as my office, terrible lighting, because at the time of day I would be doing anything, lights will not be coming through the window. So it's just kind of weirdly placed.
Well, anyway, as always, this is the internet's best resource for getting ahead as a student, but a terrible resource for learning how to cut your own hair.
Oh no!
While you're locked down, which I am just not going to do.
Oh, come on, Tom! You already know how to do that. You used to do it. You just buzz cut.
Hair.
You just
I'm not going to do
it right off.
I'm not doing the J Beeps hair, or no, I'm not doing the buzz cut hair. I'm doing the J Beeps hair. And I'm on my way to the Keanu hair. It's only a matter of time, Martin.
That's fair. I'll try to grow mine back to the collarbone. I don't know. That's going to take a little bit more quarantining.
It's going to take, like a year, probably?
Yeah, probably.
Given your current hair length?
Probably at least a year.
I hope we're not quarantined for a year.
Yeah.
I'm going a little stir crazy.
What are you going to do?
Though I'm staying sane by playing a lot of online games with friends, actually. Far more than I usually would.
Yeah.
So, I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm getting a decent amount of social interaction just by playing. I've been playing Don't Starve with a good number of people. Play a little bit of Age of Empires. And then I found out that I can play Jackbox with my friends by getting all of us on a Zoom call. And then I share my screen, which did require me to rebuy a bunch of the Jackbox games on Steam, but it's a necessary expense. And then I can share my screen, and the lag is really not an issue.
Yeah,
as long as everyone there has everyone who's playing has a decent internet connection, there's not much lag. So I actually don't know when exactly we're going to be doing this, but I think some of my YouTuber friends and I are going to be doing a charity stream on Twitch. We're just going to be doing some quarantine games. And I think this podcast should be out well before that goes live. So I would say if you are interested in that, follow me on Twitter, Tom Frankly, and I will be putting out information about that. Probably to the newsletter too. Yeah, I'm still waiting for updates on it, but it's going to be fun. And I take it you've been decently social because of Animal Crossing.
I've been more social since that game has come out than I have been in literal years. I've been more social in the last few weeks than I have since before I came to Colorado. Easily. Also, I've probably put in 100 hours already.
Wait, how long has the game been out?
Since the 20th. I mean,
Anna's been playing a lot too. Oh, it's been up for that long?
Yeah, it came out on the 20th.
I thought it came out last week. Okay, so it's been out for almost 2 weeks now.
Yeah. I've easily got.
Anna's been complaining because it's just eggs now.
Well, it's the Easter bunny season. There are eggs everywhere.
Yeah, she's convinced that it's going to be nothing but eggs until Easter. But I just can't see Nintendo doing that. I don't know.
I mean, it's not nothing but eggs.
She was saying every time you go fishing, you just get an egg now, and every time you dig up something, you just get an egg now. It's like,
well, that's not true. I got fossils and I caught fish. It's just you're likely to get those things, but it's only going to look like all of them if you're just focusing in on the eggs. They're spread in there.
You can't let your entire worldview be contained within a small egg.
It's true, but I've played with maybe 10 or 12 people right now. I've got another 7 or 8 that I'm going to. And then I've been more social and with outside of Animal Crossing as well, just forever, because I'm doing a lot better job of tracking the social stuff, because now it's my only social interaction. So
yeah. Are you actually tracking your
Yeah.
social interactions?
Yeah.
Is that something that we should talk about in this episode?
I mean,
I don't know if it fits the title, but we could just talk about it anyway.
it'll probably come up.
All right.
It's
Well,
I think it does fit in a way.
apparently we're talking about when to be unproductive this week, which this is sacrilege.
During the
Who
100
came up
hours of
with
Animal
this?
Crossing I've played. That's when.
Did you come up with this title just so you could justify playing Animal Crossing
No,
for 100
I
hours?
mean, I don't need to justify that. I would just do it anyway. I didn't even
Mm,
know, and I just checked my profile, and like a week ago, it was like 85 plus hours played, and I was like, "What?" And then
that's a
I
lot of
played a
hours.
bunch more. So what are you gonna do?
Then
No,
again, I've put a fair amount of hours into Don't Starve recently, so
yeah. Well, I wanted to do this episode because I wanted to balance out the stream of productivity advice that we and many others on the internet are giving out right now, like how to function while stuck at home, which is very useful,
hmm,
or how to concern yourself with a possible recession, which is very important, or other such things. Because right now is also a stressful time. And I think if
yeah.
people push themselves too hard on all of that, this is important and we should do it stuff, they might hurt their mental health in a way that not only makes their life worse, but disables them from doing those productivity things anyway, because they'll be too
Uh,
stressed. Like we've been stuck in a house. Uh, People are not being able to work. Stuff's really stressful. And sometimes you need to just remember how to enjoy being alive for a few seconds so that you have the energy to push yourself. Otherwise, it's not going to work out very well.
yeah. Okay, this may be an episode that I need to hear because the moment all this stuff popped off, I just responded by immediately stressing myself out a ton.
Yeah.
I went in, and you know how one of my commitments for this year was to do like less in terms of output.
Well, that was never going to happen.
Yeah, all this popped off, and I was like, oh no, I have to do more
Yeah. And I mean,
because
it's not like you're wrong.
yeah,
It's just that that's a very stressful thing to have to suddenly do.
yeah, yeah. And I feel like I don't know, like this is a time that I feel I have to step up and work even harder. Um, and like so far, it's fine, but it is quite stressful to be honest. Like there's a lot of uncertainty in the next coming months, and I don't know what's going to happen. So
Yeah.
I've just been kind of preoccupied by that the entire time.
Yeah. Like it's and perfectly reasonable things to be worried about. The productivity content that's being put out right now is helpful and necessary. I should be concerned about whether things are going to be okay. That's important. But I think
Yeah.
that I mean this applies to in general as well. Just everything needs to be. I talked about it a little bit on the last 5 questions when somebody was unsure if they could like photography because they didn't think they could take anything worth taking. The idea that we have to have something worth presenting or impressing somebody with, or that makes us cool on the internet. And if it's not worth showing off, we failed. If it's not crazy productive, look how impressive I am, it's completely pointless. And I think that mindset is very unhealthy. And that right now, given the stresses that we're feeling, one might be more likely to push themselves in that direction and burn out quickly. And if we've got
Mm.
something bad coming down the line, we don't want to burn out quickly. We want the stamina to get through the problem.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because,
that's true.
yeah, I don't want to be left burnt out in the middle of everything. I want to find a way to keep going at a reasonably productive pace that doesn't stop me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, especially if things get worse, you know.
Yeah.
And who knows? Like they could get better, they could get worse, but if things get worse and you burn yourself out, then you're not prepared to deal with an even harder period of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So I'm trying to keep um, my mental health okay, which is it's already a challenge in life sometimes. But right
yeah.
now I feel more important because I'm like, what if my family needs me? What if
Yeah.
anybody that I care about or myself has some sort of problem that I need to be ready for? Well, I can't be ready for it if I'm panicking about my own stuff, worrying about like my Instagram follower count or some stuff like that. I need a strategy. So
Yeah.
I want to keep things toned down so that I can function. And so I saw a thing on Twitter not too long ago where somebody was talking about ways to decommodify yourself, so we're not going to be a commodity as much. Like personal branding and all of the internet stuff makes it seem like again, we're nothing
Mm,
if we're not the product of what we
yeah.
present to the world.
You have to sell
And
yourself constantly.
yeah, so they were like, here are some ways to not do that. Don't have side projects. Don't take your notes too much. Don't track your habits right now. Don't produce content. And I don't agree with doing all of these things at once. Like I do most of these things, but I love the sentiment of pushing back on the idea that I am just the product of what I can show off.
Yeah. I had a comment in one of my Skillshare courses yesterday. Um, and actually, I want to pull it up because I can't remember uh, who specifically this person was talking about. But she had mentioned that there's a TEDx talk from somebody who had mentioned that having long term goals is limiting and not helpful. Let's see here. Kayana Cave. And is that a last name? Cave? It
Huh?
is, yeah.
I don't know.
There's an accent on the E that she didn't put in the comment. That's why. Yeah, so she apparently had this TEDx talk about goals, which I have not watched it. I just remember reading the comment. But I've seen messages like this in the past. Some people think having long term goals is limiting, they think it's not helpful. Whereas other people obviously think, you should have goals. Otherwise, what are you doing? How do you know where you're going in life? And just kind of got me thinking about this sort of pressure we put on ourselves to have a goal for basically every action we perform. And I know, like you've had this in the past. Get to the point where it's like a backlog of video games that you're trying to complete. So even playing games at the end of the day to relax becomes
Yeah.
like progress towards this weird overarching goal
Yeah, it's like if I
that
don't beat this game fast enough, I won't be ready for the new one that's going to come out, and then I won't have time to play that. And then how am I going to do everything else? That's supposed to be fun. It's
yeah,
literally a video game.
yeah, yeah. So I guess my thought on that was I don't think there is a definite answer to the question of like, are goals helpful or harmful, because everyone has a unique brain and everyone has a unique way in which they best work. So some people can get up every day and they can basically just like spend their lives exploring and doing what's interesting to them in the moment and be incredibly successful that way. And there's certainly justifications on that side of things. You're leaving your mind open to new paths and possibilities. You let yourself pivot more easily. But then some people are better driven by kind of a long term plan that guides their actions. And sometimes those people are incredibly successful as well. And I feel like when we have people who put out a statement like goals are useful or goals are not useful, um, there's a lot of their personal experience they can draw upon to justify that. There are probably other stories from other people that they can use to justify that, and they'll make very compelling arguments. But then, like the other people who operate in the exact opposite way, like, all the while they're doing just fine, also
Yeah,
making progress.
yeah. And this is why I wanted to title this "When to Be Unproductive." You know, it's not. It could be more clickbaity, I guess, if it was like 10 reasons you should stop productivity. But that's not nuanced to me. And obviously, I mean, in the recent past, we have had now 2 videos where a random system that I've come up with to manage my own things has been mentioned. Clearly, I
Hmm.
like these sorts of things,
Yeah.
but there's a balance to be struck.
Hmm.
So I just thought it'd be useful to talk about some of the things that maybe I've been doing. I don't know if you've been doing to cut back and rediscover my innate humanity. You know, that's
Yeah.
outside of accomplishments, because I am more than a list of things that I have done.
Hmm.
And maybe why people should make a point in between the hard things they'll do to prepare to get through things, to remember that they're alive and that that's already interesting and valuable without needing to impress anybody.
Yeah. So, what are some of the things that you've been doing recently then?
Okay, so
Because I'm not gonna lie, I have been sort of stressing myself out and overly thinking about being productive recently. I mean, if anything, uh, this lockdown has improved my routines, which is a weird thing. And I think like a lot of people naturally, it would be very tough for that to happen because their routines are sort of set by them going to some place other than their home. And when that
Yeah.
is sort of ripped away from them, it's hard to form a new routine. In my case, it was like I could always choose to work from home or go work somewhere else. That choice has been taken away from me. So it's like now I know where I go work.
Yeah, this is like
It's
the
just
same
it's
logic of
just the office.
wearing the same outfit every day. It gets rid of that
Yeah.
little choice, and then you're
Hmm.
done.
But also, I mean, I think one thing that I am heavily motivated by is like the threat of a consequence. And this whole like having the future of our business and the whole economy and all the whole society thrown into question has just sort of like focused my mind and made me kind of overly focused on being productive. But I think you're right, like if I'm constantly focused on that, then there's a potential of a burnout again.
Yeah, and like I totally agree, and I'm trying to do more and be more focused, but because of that, I don't have the mental space to push myself as much on other things. Like I can't also do some crazy photography challenge right now.
Mm.
Right now, there are fewer things that are important, and they need to take most of my productive mental space. I can't be pushing in every direction right now. So I've cut back on a lot of my habits to be much simpler. To I was just finding less joy in them recently.
Do you
I'm
have some
stressed
examples?
out. Um, I can let's see. I've cut back. So I was working out pretty thoroughly. I have had to pull back on that, not only because um, I'm trying to simplify my habits so I can get through the things that are keeping me maintained and get to work on the important things right now. But also because I want to conserve calories because the stores don't keep food enough. And when I work out a
Mm.
lot, I get very hungry. So that's not useful right now. So I've had to cut back that goal. And that's just being realistic right now. I don't have the excess calories lying around the house to, bulk up or something. It'd be a bad time for that. Um,
Is that because the things you eat have been out of stock or what?
it's more because I'm trying to go to the store as few times as possible. And
Oh yeah, that's fair.
the things that I want to buy are often not in stock. And also, I'm just foreseeing what happens when I go and there is nothing like the things that I would buy. I want to have my food stretch as far as possible, which is great for my grocery budget, by the way. It's been helping. But
That yeah, that definitely
man, I
helps.
waste so much less money on food now. That's a silver
Yeah,
lining. But so a while back, I had pulled back my Instagram posting from daily to Monday, Wednesday, Friday because it was becoming a chore. And now it's kind of like I'll accidentally have enough to do it just by taking them. And I
yeah.
might try a little harder right now because I'm trying to share spring plants with the people that cannot go enjoy spring plants as much. Um,
Wait, what?
I'm sharing plant photos, so I'm like a little more
Oh,
motivated
photo.
to take
Okay.
photos because I can share spring with
Yeah,
people that can't really go enjoy it to the same extent as normal. So
that is the one big benefit of living in like the type of neighborhood we do. Like you're not in a high rise
yeah,
apartment,
so
so you can
I've been
just
making a
step out your
point
front
to.
door.
I'm a little more motivated to get content to people in that way, just because that's I think cool right now. But I've
Hmm.
cut back some of my language practice, my Japanese practice. I've simplified greatly, and I'm just not worrying about as much. I don't have any huge art goal right now. For a while, I was working
Yeah,
on my cover of the song KK Cruisin'. A while before that, I was working on that winter Pokemon scene with the persimmons, both of which took tons of time and effort to put together. Right now, I have nothing like that.
because that was
I
like
don't have the
your
space for it.
nights for a while was just that project, right?
Yeah. Like it was my if I put in an hour or two every night into a project that's big, I can do something incredible in a short amount of time. And I still
Hmm.
believe that's true. But right now, the something incredible I want is to get through this with my mental health and preferably physical and financial and all of the healths, every one of them, if I can be greedy about it, intact. That's
Yeah.
more important to me than a huge art project that's really cool right now.
Yeah.
And I'll still
Yeah.
mess
That's
around
fair.
with those things. But before they were in a system. Before they were, this is what I need to do tonight, at least
Hmm.
40 minutes of this. But now I've been like, I'm going to play Animal Crossing because I see that I have a few friends playing right now. And that's
Yeah.
going to be better to give me the energy I need to focus on my work, basically,
Hmm.
more so than personally impressive art projects.
Yeah.
So that's just the habits that have been cut back a lot. Parts of my home are a huge mess, and that bothers me a lot. But I have not been doing much to fix them simply because, again, that's not that important in the grand scheme of things at the moment. If there's like a section of the living room that's not great,
Hmm.
usually I would put more effort into it. But I'm trying to conserve all that energy for working.
I think it's an interesting phenomenon where it's like once your option to do something has been taken away, that's when you want to do it. And it's an interesting permutation of that phenomenon here because we still have the ability to socialize with people on the internet, and there's no foreseeable end date to that.
Yeah,
Like I don't think that I'm going to not be able to
like
play
the
games online with my friends at any time, but I think there's still like this psychological realization that a lot of our ability to socialize has been taken away, even if it's not entirely. It's like, many of the avenues have been taken away, and we all kind of have the same response to that anyway. So, I mean, I don't know how you've been feeling about this, but I have been feeling more apt to go ping my friends on Slack or text people and be like, hey, let's play Don't Starve. Let's play Age of Empires. Let's play Jackbox or do something. Um, and as a result, like I guess the personal pressure I put on myself to do side projects or to do music or whatever has been lowered.
yeah,
It's like my priorities have been shifted
yeah.
a little
I
bit.
feel like that. Like given that I've been tracking it, I can tell you right now that I started tracking somewhere like halfway through March. So I don't know the exact start date because that's not how my system's working right now.
Hmm.
But within that amount of time, within the last like monthish, I have basically I've basically talked to no fewer than 33 people that I consider close, like acquaintances or
Wow.
friends or anything like that. And I'd have days where I'd talk to like 10 or 12 people all that day, and then again the next day, and many people that I'm now talking to on a daily basis in a way that I just didn't at all. I'm keeping track way more. It seems like the priorities have shifted. It's just I'm aware
Yeah.
of my isolation now, that it's not my choice. And because of that, I'm reassessing my values.
Hmm. This week's episode of our show is brought to you by our friends over at Skillshare, which is an online learning website that has thousands of classes which can boost your skills in a ton of different areas. There are classes on video editing, lots of cool video editing classes, actually. Final Cut Pro, Premiere Pro, After Effects, animation, tons of stuff that I've actually used to boost my own After Effects chops in many cases, trying to get better at animation. They've got classes on digital illustration, on Procreate, iPad illustration, lots of different art forms, music production. So if you are looking to take on a new hobby or build a new skill and you have some downtime, Skillshare is an excellent resource for that. But I do want to promo a new class that just launched on the platform, which is my friend Ali Abdal's class, How to Study for Exams, an Evidence-Based Masterclass. This is a 4.5 hour long class that goes through basically everything you could ever want to know about how to study for exams. He goes through a ton of different science, he goes through a ton of different results, and breaks down using evidence it breaks down the ways to study as effectively as possible. And because we are right at the start of April, even if you are doing classes at home, you probably have exams coming up pretty soon. So it might be an interesting class to go check out. Of course, there are thousands of other classes on the platform. And if you're one of the first 1,000 people to go over to Skillshare.com/geek and sign up, you're going to get a 2-month free trial with unlimited access to that platform. So you can take as many classes as you want for free during those 2 months. And even after that, Skillshare is still incredibly affordable at less than $10 per month. And in case you are unaware, in case you haven't listened to other ads on this show before, I actually have 2 courses on Skillshare. One of them is on how to build strong habits, and one is on how to build your productivity system, which consists of your task manager, your calendar, your note taking system, all that good stuff, and making them work in harmony. So once again, Skillshare.com/geek, and be one of the first 1,000 people to sign up using that link to get a 2-month free trial and to take as many classes as you want. Huge thanks, as always, to Skillshare for sponsoring this episode and being a big supporter of our show. And another big thanks goes out to our second sponsor this week, which is Brilliant. Brilliant is a great learning resource for anybody who wants to improve their analytical capabilities and their problem solving skills. And that is because they have this excellent library of more than 60 courses that cover math, science, and computer science. And all the courses in that library are built around the principle of active learning. It's a great supplement to the class material you might be taking, where you're reading books, watching videos, because everything in Brilliant is built around kind of getting your hands dirty. There are interactive puzzles, there are code writing challenges. So as you're learning, you're going to be actively involved with material, and this not only makes your learning process more efficient, but it keeps your interest higher as you're learning as well. Now, within their library, you're going to find a full math suite of courses, from the basics of number theory to algebra and geometry, all the way up to differential equations, to math for trading and finance, to statistics. They also have science courses. They have a brand new one on scientific thinking. They also have a brand new course on calculus in a nutshell, so it's a little bit of a more streamlined introduction to calculus that you might want to take. And they also have computer science courses, one on neural networks, which is pretty new, but also computer science algorithm courses, one on how computer memory works. So if you want to understand the fundamentals of computer science, then definitely check those courses out as well. So if you go over to brilliant.org/collegeinfogeek, you can sign up and start learning for free today. Now, with their free plan, you get access to a feature called Daily Challenges, where every single day you're going to get a new challenge, which you can use to cut your teeth on potentially a new area that you haven't checked out in the past, but also make learning and problem solving a daily habit. And if you're one of the first 200 people to use that link and sign up, you're going to get 20% off your annual premium subscription, which gets you access to all of those courses and the entire archive of daily challenges. So once again, brilliant.org/collegeinfogeek, and be one of the first 200 people to sign up. Big thanks, as always, to Brilliant as well for sponsoring this episode and being a big supporter of our show. And let's get back into it. I mean, on that note, I want to ask a question. What is productivity anyway?
Well, that seems hard, because a lot of the descriptions I want to give are just as vague, but they're good buzzwords, like getting things done. It's just like,
Yeah.
it's just more buzzwords. I guess it's just, for the most part, to me, it seems like it's doing a bunch of things primarily for their extrinsic rewards that might make you successful or impressive. But you're doing them primarily for the extrinsic reward, not because you're just really excited about it. At some point, you're like, well, I'm going to do this because I have to be successful, rather than, man, I'm going to keep drawing. It's really fun. It's like, I feel like you could draw every day for 30 days just because you thought it was really fun. Or you could say, I'm going to make this a system, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to publish it, and it's going to be the greatest. And then once you've kind of forced it into that hole, it becomes productivity in my mind. Doesn't mean you hate it, but you're more focused on either showing it to others for the purposes of feeling successful, or the extrinsic rewards that you get from doing it, rather than internal values.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting discussion to have, because when I think about productivity intensely, I don't think I would come to the conclusion that it has anything to do with extrinsic rewards. I would say it's more like you have to get very clear about what your personal goals are, what the things that you prioritize and actually care about are, and then see if the actions you're taking are in alignment with those goals. But when I think about it from an emotional standpoint or from like an immediate answer standpoint, it is like, how many videos am I putting out? How much money am I making? How am I growing my business? Are the metrics going up?
Yeah,
Like
I guess.
that becomes like the go-to answer, right? Like, how many subscribers have we gotten in the past X
Yeah,
days?
like
You
it
know,
feels like a surface level is, am I being successful? That
yeah.
concern is the root to me.
Yeah, and with your reference to the whole idea of the commoditization of the self, this ends up extending past your primary profession, and it gets into other things, especially when you're trying to project like everything you're doing to the world, whether it be your hobbies or your art, whatever it is. You start to fixate on metrics, on like basically like points
Yeah,
that give you a score. And I would contend that that is not necessarily what productivity is. We just have a lot of ingrained mental structures that lead us to sort of peg the definition of productivity to those indicators and metrics. I mean, most of us live under capitalism. There's a lot of like, talk about merit, talk about climbing the ladder, talk about making enough money, doing all this kind of stuff, building a business, and we can start to think about everything in those terms.
yeah, it makes perfect sense when it comes to your career. That makes a lot of sense, but it kind of leaks into everywhere else. And even if productivity doesn't start there, it seems to end there in a lot of cases where it becomes, do I have enough success points? And if not,
Yeah.
why not? And then when you get the success points, you just compare it to somebody else with more success points
Mm-hmm.
rather than like happiness points, which I'm capable of competing with any human on the planet on happiness points. That's within my realm, you know? But on success points, there are people with innate advantages that are almost always going to outperform that I just can't reach no matter what I do. So one of those competitions is better for me if I want to feel like I'm doing well.
Yeah. Sometimes I think about, like if I were to look at my music as a, success point driven thing, if I were entirely fixated on putting out songs to build my Spotify profile, um, how am I going to be thinking about my music in 10 years? Is it going to be the same? Because if so, do I want to go 10 years always thinking about playing music in terms of trying to achieve some kind of goal that's in the future? And is that going to prevent me from enjoying music as just a pure form of fun self-expression? Or can those things exist at the same time?
Yeah. Yeah, I
Because for
just think
me,
it's
they can't always. I don't know. There's definitely a joy in creation, but if it's entirely driven by metrics and arbitrary indicators of success, I'm probably not going to feel that same joy.
yeah, and that's the kind of stuff I want to try to avoid right now, just because I feel like if I go back and forth between pushing my pixel art on some crazy ultra project that takes a month or two, and then just I'm gonna make some quick Animal Crossing llama shirts. That's cool. I
Mm-hmm.
going back and forth, I can feel perfectly healthy both times, and I will keep loving it. But if I think that I have to do the crazy big project over and over, it's going to burn me out, and eventually it will just be over justified and become about whether I'm succeeding to other people. And I don't
Yeah.
want to do that. But especially right now when things are stressful and I need something that I can relax with. And if nothing becomes relaxing because it's all about succeeding, you have no escape.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So we talked about your kitchen system in my video about planning,
Yeah.
and like you kind of use burners as the metaphor. There's actually another burner metaphor I wanted to talk about,
Like a
and this is
phone.
sort of, yeah, like burner phones.
Yeah. It's
You
very
know,
important in our business.
you call those clowns with tall hats.
No evidence.
um, so there's this kind of idea that's been put around the internet, and I can't remember exactly where I heard it, but if you think about your life in terms of a stove top with four burners, and like say it's a gas stove top where for whatever reason like you could direct all of the gas to one burner, or you could distribute it. Those four burners are like your work, and one is your family and your relationships, one is your health, and then one is like personal time and hobbies. And if you put all of the gas to burner number one, which is work, then there's nothing left over for the other three burners. So you could be, crushing it at work. You could be doing all these great things. You could be spending all of your time getting all these external metrics of success. Meanwhile, your health is suffering. You're giving yourself no time for the pursuit of hobbies that you enjoy. You're giving yourself no time for reflection, relaxation, asking yourself if this is how you want to live your life. You're giving yourself no time to spend time with the people you care about. You're not cultivating relationships. You're not keeping them healthy. And then after a while, you find that you've gotten all these success points in the realm of work, but then there's all these weaknesses and there's all this decay around the other burners. And if you don't think about productivity in terms of external metrics such as money earned or prestige garnered or followers gained, if you think about productivity more holistically and you include things like the status of your mental health, the continued upkeep of that, the status of your relationships, we often talk about like relationships being like the true wealth that we have in life. If you think about productivity in that way, then putting all of the gas towards that work burner is not very productive
Yeah.
because you're letting things sort of fall by the wayside in other areas of your life. And I think a lot of people, they understand this intrinsically, but then there's this sort of just like a bouncing about effect where they will be putting a ton of time into work, realize they have overcommitted, and then overcorrect, just like drop so much work so they can focus on health or relationships or whatever it is. And I guess for me, like the ideal would be to strike a balance between all of them. And I know that balance isn't always going to remain perfect and remain static, but over a long period of time, I would like to have, on average, a good balance between all those four areas of life.
Yeah. And that's like maybe a better definition of productive in it, because you're productive in the sense of happiness, but clearly productive comes from like capitalistic subconscious sort of areas. It's product. It's being or creating product is like, but being
Yeah.
productive in the sense of producing happiness for yourself or others might be a better whole. And
Yeah.
yeah, I just think there are a lot of things that we can do that we can try not to do in a way that makes them about success points.
Mm-hmm. There was a video. Linus Sebastian, the guy who runs Linus Media Group, he put out a video when the Linus Tech Tips channel hit 10 million subscribers. And it was just titled, "I've been thinking of retiring." It was kind of crazy because you think like a channel hitting 10 million subscribers, they would put out some kind of huge celebratory thing, try to do something special. But his was it was a 30-minute stream, just him at his house, sort of dumping a lot of feelings he'd had, kind of pent up. And the conclusion of the video is, I'm not retiring, but I have to kind of redefine what I'm doing this for. I have to make sure that I'm doing it for the right reasons. And I have to make sure I'm doing it in a balanced way. And something that really struck me was he's kind of talking about conversations he'd had with his wife about, like when are you going to kind of pull back a little bit from work and be around more, especially now that we have kids. And he had said like, he'd said like, I'll keep pushing until they're old enough to understand that dad needs to be around. And then it got redefined to, I'll keep pushing until they're in elementary school. And there was like sort of this um, reflection on how we can continually justify pushing and pushing and pushing in work because a lot of those relationships are taken for granted. And it just sort of struck me like that's a channel with 10 million subscribers, 30 odd employees, almost 40 now, maybe. uh, you know, so many success metrics by anybody's count, but the guy who's running it all, the guy who's the boss of it, um, felt that there was a huge imbalance enough to where he wanted to talk about it publicly. And I'm like, okay, so if I keep pushing in my work, like it's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows. I could very well find myself in the exact same position where there are some regrets I'm expressing. And possessing more money, possessing more prestige, possessing more success, more followers, that isn't going to that isn't going to, like, make that any better. It isn't going to I guess, like, mitigate the damage I could cause by not maintaining a balance. So I've been trying to think about that ever since watching that video. And I don't know, perhaps my reaction to all this happening made me quash that down because I got scared about the future. But I want to
Yeah,
keep it in mind.
perfectly reasonable response. But yeah, it's just like there's more to life than like hashtag hustle crush it, which
Mm-hmm.
is, just it goes too far, because also that kind of the community that loves that kind of crush it stuff, they'll they'll become their own echo chamber of, yeah, just do it over and over and over, and there's not a lot of, wait, hold on, man, like, I'm just gonna chill for today. That's not as exciting, it's not as
Mm-hmm.
motivating.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. There are definitely messages that people will put out there purely because it makes them look good to a certain community. And to put out the opposite message often isn't as beneficial
yeah,
to your image. So, they won't do that, or they won't even consider it, you
yeah,
know? So I want to maintain that balance. And, I would consider myself a more productive person if I was able to do good work to the best of my ability, but also spend a lot of time with my fiance, spend time with my friends and my family, make sure that I'm remaining active and working out every day, or at least getting some exercise every day, and also giving myself time to do the things I really like to do in terms of hobbies,
yeah,
and, like reading books, things like that. I would consider myself a more productive person if I do those things than if I put out triple the videos, but I'm a wreck and
yeah, yeah. Like, well, as soon as the
getting
camera
the
goes off, you just fall apart.
getting the dad bod.
Like,
One thing that I've been thinking about is the timing on this was perfect, but I met a guy in Atlanta who's a lifting coach, so I've been working with him remotely, and I have to film my workouts and send him the video clips. So because of that, I have some built-in accountability, and I've actually been pretty consistent about working out for the past couple of weeks because I kind of don't have a choice, which is nice. And that's an interesting thing to dwell on for a second, because especially when we're like all stuck at home now, I think a lot of that self-discipline and balance now falls more on you to maintain. And that is tough. It's tough to be like, all right, I am going to socialize, I'm going to work, and I'm going to stick to this plan that I made for myself, and I'm going to work out with no accountability in the form of either like a coach or an accountability partner, or just in the form of social pressure that we normally get in our physical interactions with other people. It's all on you, and it's much harder. So I feel quite fortunate that I ended up in this situation where I have a lifting coach now. Um, and I guess one thing that I would put out there is, if people who are listening to this have found that managing their time is more difficult, especially now that we're all at home, um, try to find an accountability partner. And ideally, this would be a person who understands the need for balance, but will hold your feet to the fire with regards to what you tell them you want to do.
yeah. Um, let's see.
It's been
So,
helpful for me.
yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense because you're doing something, and I assume that it brings you some form of joy to remain in good health.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's
Oh yeah.
like it's worth it. It's not like you're torturing yourself, saying, if I don't become like a triple double beefcake, then it's not good enough. I
Well,
will
that is
push
what I'm going
until
for.
my biceps literally burst through my skin. And that's
I am going for triple double beefcake.
but
So
and that's like, well, I wouldn't do that. That's probably not a great idea. But Yeah, it's just like I think that we should just try to take some time to reassess and don't do productive things for entirely the sake of being productive. Like I
Yeah.
still track habits, the ones that bring me joy on a daily basis, the ones that I'm like, yeah, I'm glad I'm doing that. Not if I don't do it, I'm a failure, but more if I do it, I'll be happy. It's
Yeah.
do I have a positive or negative attitude behind it?
Well, for me, it's been kind of tough for like personal exercise motivation because while I want to be strong, while I want to be fit, while I want to look a certain way, those typically are not good enough motivators for me to consistently exercise, which is why I choose exercise that is fun for me. That's why I climb. It's why
Yeah,
I ice skate, why I ski. And all of those things have been taken away from me now. I can't climb. I can't go skating. I can't go
yeah,
skiing. All the mountains have been closed. I can lift weights. I can ride my bike. I can go for runs. Very fortunately, I have the DDR machine, so I can play DDR, that is very fun for me. But that's just cardio. So there's like not really a fun way for me to maintain physical strength. Uh, so having the accountability there is quite helpful for me.
yeah. Because you'll
Um,
want to get back to the stuff that you enjoy when you can. You don't want to be like,
oh yeah,
I can't do this anymore. I've lost
I mean,
everything.
the moment those climbing gyms open back up, like,
Yeah.
and it's safe to do so, I will be going right back and
Yeah.
climbing again because that's what I really want to be doing.
But yeah, yeah. And so your productivity in the sense of maintaining a workout thing makes sense because it's lining up so that you'll live the life you want to experience rather than like just one that sounds like worth it, whatever worth it means. You know, worth it is
Yeah.
weird and loaded and filled with judgments, but you want to experience those things. So it makes sense to work toward those experiences.
hmm And I also want to be fit and healthy. I mean, I felt that January and February were not amazing times for me in terms of putting time into workouts. Like I was doing climbing a decent amount, but it's still not to the level that I would usually do. And since I've been working with the coach, I don't know, I like the consistency. I like being active every single day. Maybe one rest day on the weekends.
Yeah.
That's just something that's very valuable to me in an intrinsic way.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, one of the things I think people could do is reassess their productivity, try to focus it on the parts that they enjoy or that will bring them joy later, not just success, whatever that is. But also maybe one could pick up a new hobby or a craft or an art form that doesn't have any obvious reward. You could start learning how to crochet amigurumi dolls or something, and then
I think it's
don't
high puff yami yumi dolls.
yeah, you could make those, but and then like don't immediately think I should start a brand new social media account and gain a following for these
I
because
should
now
stream these.
then you're like, "Oh no, I've made it work and now I have to keep doing it forever." But I really only wanted to make these like twice and then I was going to be good. But now
Yeah.
I have 100 people and they all want more. It's like you could just pick up something, don't even make it about that. Don't even allow it to be about that.
hmm
Like I've been writing a song for the last year largely for myself or for my stepdad and for my family after I lost my stepdad. And I still don't know if I'm ever going to put it anywhere else. I've thought about it, but I don't really know if it's something it would have to bring value to other people
Yeah.
because that's not I don't need attention for that. The only person I've shown is like Ashley knows about it and my mom has heard early versions of it for reasons that make sense. I'm writing music and just very possibly not sharing it at all. I don't know. It's not for that sort of a reward. So art can be very valuable even just to yourself.
Yeah. So you don't feel the need to put your art out to the world in order to get fulfillment from having
Yeah.
made it.
Yeah, like clearly that particular song has its own motivations that are not success or people saying, "Wow, that's so good," because like I wouldn't even know how to respond to a compliment like that on a topic of such seriousness. I'd be like, "What? Okay, I I'm not thrilled about it," and and then
Yeah.
like it's just we don't have to make everything something we're going to show off with. And then
Right.
on that note, this whole mindset of needing some sort of balance and not pushing yourself to the point to like a breaking point. This isn't just for the pandemic thing we're going through. Like, I mean, I think about my stepdad every day ever since then. I can't like let it go. It's very difficult.
Hmm.
So I haven't been as productive in the last year as I have been in university years. I was way more like I'm going to push myself 1,000 times over and do the craziest things and manage it all somehow. But if you've got stuff going on, you need to balance it well, or you can't really succeed. You'll just get some hollow success that then becomes too much to bear.
Yeah. So one thing that I wanted to say before we end this, and I'm not sure what else you have to say, but uh, something I think about when it comes to the idea of productivity is the acceleration of returns. So the way the human mind deals with numbers is not linear. We tend to think of numbers in more exponential terms. So, for example, say you start a YouTube channel and you hit 100 subscribers, and that feels great to you. The next milestone in your head is not likely to be 200 subscribers. It's going to be 1,000 or 500 at the least. That's just like the natural inclination that we have. And then you're going to hit that, and it won't be 2,000. It'll be 5,000 or 10,000, whatever it may be. And over time, the next milestone in your head just gets further out, further out, further out, and it can become like almost like an addiction to seeing your returns not only continue to go up, but to accelerate. And that can lead to feelings of not feeling worthy, of feeling unproductive when your returns are no longer scaling in the way that they used to. And the fact is that even though our minds are sort of wired to expect this more exponential or at least nonlinear growth, the way the world works is not it's not going to always sustain that. At a certain point, your mind will expect a level of growth that just cannot be achieved.
Yeah.
So you have to sort of step back and remind yourself that acceleration is not necessarily the metric that you should be following, even when we're focusing in on work. If you do something and you've done it well, you've worked to the best of your ability, you've created something you're proud of, and it gives value to people, it is not a failure just because it doesn't massively outpace the last effort, or even if it doesn't match the same level of certain indicators of success as your last effort. That doesn't mean it's a failure. It may have still had a lot of intrinsic value, and it may still have been a very good use of your time.
Yeah. It's just
So,
those are maybe the wrong numbers to focus on sometimes.
yeah.
In fact, out of everything that I track, even the habits that I'm still doing, the things that make me happiest are actually just the social tracker, keeping track and noting, hey, I'm keeping in touch with everybody. I'm thrilled about that. There is never a time where I'm like, I guess I need to talk to them so I can mark it down. Because I'd probably just delete them from the list at that point. But
Yeah.
I'm it just brings a ton of happiness. But my YouTube metrics won't tell you how many friends you've talked to today. It's not going to give you anything that has an inherent intrinsic value. It's going to show you views, which are also somewhat arbitrary because you got to hope people randomly get it suggested to them. All sorts of stuff goes into that. That's less. It's less close to home
Yeah.
in the same sense as, am I enjoying this? Am I helping the people around me,
Hmm.
etc.
So I think the overall idea here is to just sort of reflect on what's really important to you, how you're balancing your life, and making sure that you're not simply chasing certain indicators of success that we hold up in society as important, but may not actually be useful or important to you, given your own personal priorities, the things that you think are useful to fixate upon in your life. And now would be a great time to think about those things,
It's the
because
perfect time.
we're all kind of stressing ourselves out.
Well, it's the perfect time also because I mean, a lot of people are going to be under the whole all of Colorado is under the stay-at-home thing where we're
Yeah.
not supposed to go out and do much. A ton of people are stuck at home much more than normal. I have a lot of time to think right now, but also all of my previous habits are broken, which means now is a unique opportunity to create new ones when this is ended. When I can leave when I want to again, I can reconsider, hey, was I going to that coffee shop every day because that was a good idea or because I was just used to it? Let's consider. Maybe I could do something different instead.
Mm-hmm.
The perfect time to start a new habit is when all of your habits have been ripped away from you. You've got a clean slate.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, what did Rahm Emanuel say? And it was like, a lot of people think of this as a callous thing he said, but he had a good point. It was like, never waste a good crisis. Um, and that's because like when there is a crisis, people are kind of pushed to change in ways that they will not be willing to do when things are just the same way as they've always been. Right?
Yeah.
Big changes tend to spur changes in behavior, tend to spur a lot of reflection. It doesn't mean the crisis is a good thing, but it does mean that
No.
it does give
But
us an opportunity. It kind of creates like this psychological impetus to potentially change what we're doing.
yeah, how can we come out of this closer to the kind of person that we want to be than we were before?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's talk about your social tracker system next week,
Can
because we're
do.
going to talk about what you can do to help your community. And I think that's going to include all of your relationships as well. So we'll dig into your social tracker in addition to talking about some other things that could be done. So I think that's going to do it for this episode, unless you have like another hour-long list you want to dig into.
I've actually got 3 more hours of
You want to
list.
tack 3 more hours on? Okay.
Yeah, we're just gonna
I'm not going anywhere.
just copy and paste different portions of this conversation so that it seems like we looped back around, and then
I'm just going to chop the
maybe at
middle out of
least
another podcast.
maybe somebody won't notice, and they'll
I
just
bet
be
you if
like,
I
"We just got off on a tangent."
I bet you if I chopped the middle out of certain episodes and dropped it in and matched the audio,
It could make it seem
maybe.
like it was just a little bit of a tangent, but not too far off.
Now, how
We
do
could probably
people
do it.
know that the middle portion of this podcast wasn't something we already recorded years ago?
They
You'll
can't
never
know.
know. You'll never know. Actually, I think this may be the first episode of the podcast I've ever recorded with this microphone. So,
Oh, that looks fancy.
I mean, I've
Especially
had this
when
microphone
Zoom
for a
glitches
while.
it out and makes it turn into ocean for a second. Like that's pretty cool.
And it's gone.
Wow.
Yeah, people can't see my fun background. It's like fish.
Yeah.
Uh, anyway, this is episode 292. So you can go over to cigpodcast.com/292 and get the show notes for it. I'm not sure if we mentioned any resources in this episode. This is more philosophical,
Search
but
your soul wherever a link to that is.
yeah, a link to your soul.
Just gonna link a stupid image.
Otherwise, cigpodcast.com is where you can go to subscribe to the show. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, all the things and all the stuff. And I should probably say this on every episode until the College Info Geek podcast ends. Stick around on this feed because we're just going to change the name of the podcast.
Yep.
And I
It'll
don't
still
know,
auto
maybe like,
download right to your stuff.
yep,
It'll just
maybe
be
just,
the sequel.
yeah.
It's gonna be called the College Info Geek Podcast 2.
Electric Boogaloo.
That's the new title.
It's just called the Electric Boogaloo Show now at this point. Yeah, I think that's it. So if you enjoy this show, you can always share it with a friend. Let them know what your favorite episode is. Since we're all communicating with friends through computers right now, it should be very easy to send them a link When
That's
you're
true.
in person, you have to like say, this podcast I like, let me get my phone out and show it to you. Now it's like, no, just here it is.
Text 2
I'm on my phone
friends.
already.
Ask them to text 2 more friends. Ask them to text 2 more friends.
Yeah, it's like a podcast MLM
Yep.
thing, except for we're not going to pay you any money for getting a downline.
Not at all.
No, $0, sir.
This is for the intrinsic value.
Yes. Yeah, you're just going to feel some sort of, I don't know, like warmth in your soul for sharing an educational podcast with a friend, or for giving us a rating and review on iTunes or Apple Podcasts if you do happen to use that service. I think that's the only one that has ratings and reviews, but it is cool to see them when they come in. Other than that, collegeinfogeek.com is where you can go to see lots of other cool stuff. Well, I will make one more little announcement thing. So, you know how we talk about the 1% rule a lot? The whole idea of like getting 1% better with each thing you put out. Well, I noticed that like, I absolutely do that for my videos. Every video I make, there's like something I focus in on, often a couple of things, but it's like, I'm trying to make incremental improvements. It's usually just whatever interests me at the time. But for the last video, I'm like, hey, why don't I just like put out a little log of the 1% improvements I made? And then I made a little journal on my personal website, which is just like my little 1% rule journal. So I'm pasting my new videos there when they come out, and I'm adding a little bit of a description of the things that I did to sort of push my knowledge and my skills in this craft. So it might be like script writing improvement. It might be, oh, hey, I got better at color grading in this episode, or I found a new tool, whatever it is. And I think like if I do this for a long time, I've been making videos for a long time, and there's been a lot of 1% improvements, but I think it'll be really cool to look back and actually see a record of those 1% improvements over time. So little experiment that I'm running, but in the show notes, we'll have that linked there. And for the show notes for Guillermo, if you just go to my personal website and then go to articles, it's right there, my 1% journal. So yeah, check that out if you're curious. Otherwise, that's it. Thanks as always for hanging out with us. We will see you in the next episode. Stay cute.